Hello, and welcome to a special World Championship preview episode of the Snooker Loopy podcast. My name is Tom Mayhew, I'm a comedian, and I'm joined by my very, very, very good friend. You might know him as the man behind Evening Hazel, but I like to call him... It's Joe, the beard that's feared, Hannard!
Well, good evening, Hazel. Good evening, everybody at home. Very, very happy to be here, Tom. I've been looking forward to this all week. Our annual World Snooker Championship preview, and we are doing it on Crucible Eve. And I know Tom very well. He will stay up through the night to get this edited and out for you on that Saturday, Crucible Day 1. So hopefully you're going to enjoy the snooker, obviously back on the BBC, and you'll hear those famous words at some point, but it'll probably be good afternoon, Hazel. But yes, pleasure to be here, Tom, and really looking forward to it. It's going to be a cracking World Championship, I think.
What's lovely, and I was thinking about it earlier today, is that, you know, because we love snooker so much, that every time the World Championship comes around, I'm always as excited as I was last year. Like, you think eventually you'd go, it's my 25th World Championship. I'm not that bothered. But you do just go, oh, it's exciting, isn't it? It's the proper snooker. It's proper long form, the best of the best. And the qualifiers this year is probably the best lineup. Definitely I can remember. I don't know whether you can remember a different lineup you'd pick out, but I really can't remember a year where it's been this kind of strong and this kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, no, I think you bob on there. I think the qualifiers are really strong. I think there's a lot of seeds that are struggling for form this season. I think there's going to be a lot of close matches. I was baffled by how many deciders there were in the qualifiers. I think we could have a fair few deciders in the first round. I think it's going to be really, really tense over the next few days. It's going to be really, gripping snooker. But as you say, it's long format, and I think it's possibly the most open World Championship for years. I know there's two big favourites for the tournament that are due to meet in the semi-final if they indeed get there. But who knows where this is going to go. I'm sure we'll do our actual predictions later on. I know that on the event prediction, we like doing that every year and seeing who comes out on top. But I'm going into that not having a clue who I'm going to end up picking. So that tells me it's there for the taking for quite a few players this year. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, provisionally, world number one at the end of the season at the moment would be Mark Allen, which is pretty incredible. Like, obviously the World Championship will throw up changes, and, it could be anyone, probably from Mark Allen to Shaun Murphy, who, if they win it, would be number one. But it's crazy, really, like the number of players who I think have a shot this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll probably say that, and it'll be an O'Sullivan-Selby final or something, which so many people will be predicting, and we'll look like absolute muppets. But it wouldn't be the first time, would it, Tom? So
No, we seem to do that every episode, so it's fine.
But we'll swiftly move on. Obviously, myself and Tom do this podcast a lot, so if you are new around here, make sure you do subscribe to Tom's channel and keep an eye out on his channel over the World Championship. Not only will there be plenty of podcasts, we're hoping to do pretty much daily. It won't be possible all of the time, but we will be popping in and out and trying to keep you up to date with all of the action, especially the funny side of things. And Tom will, I'm sure, put some sketches together. I think he's already got the suits probably lined up and out there on the channel. I know you like the suits, Tom.
Mate, it's already up. It's already up.
There you go. What can I say? But there'll be plenty of Bingham and plenty of Shaun Murphy and a dash of Rob Walker in there as well. But
always a
obviously,
dash of Rob Walker.
there always is. And look at those shoes. So we're looking forward to that. But in our last proper episode of the podcast, we talked about the qualifiers, Tom, and we set up a little predictions contest where every year we try and predict the 16 qualifiers to varying degrees of success. And we'll quickly run through your 16 qualifiers because, as you say, Tom, it is a very, very strong lineup this year. So yeah, looking forward to it. First of all, we have got the jackpot, Jack Lazowski. Unfortunately, both of us predicted Matthew Stevens would beat Jack Lazowski. So the way I do this, I give points based on how many matches they win. So Matthew Stevens, in theory, won 3 matches because he got to round 4. So we'll give him 3 points. Bless his cotton socks. But yeah, Jack Lazowski was the first one. You know.
He did well, Stevens. I think
he did.
I think it was not as close as people was expecting in that match. Like, Jack really turned up, which, to be honest, I think makes him probably have a better shot at some sort of good run if he can get past the early rounds. You know, because he played very well. So hey, well done, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I know early on in the match with Matthew Stevens that there was a few big breaks and it looked like it was going to go close. I think it was, 2-all, 3-3, and then Jack Lazowski just pulled away as he can do. But he is going to be very dangerous, as you say. Speaking of dangerous, next qualifier, we're going to sound awful at this, Tom. It's Ricky Walden, who is my second favourite player. So I'm delighted about that. He obviously beat Mark Davis in a 10-9 decider. I'd went for Tepchaya Unnu, and he went out in his first match, so I'm going to give him 0 points because he didn't win anything. And Mark Davis, well, he got through a couple of matches, got himself to that 4th round, and was also close against Ricky Walden, actually. But I'm certainly delighted about that because I love Ricky Walden, as you know, Tom.
Yeah, you do. He's one of your favourites. The Marathon Man, is that his nickname?
The Marathon Man, yeah. I think he's now known as the Walnut, I think, because it actually turned out
that's better.
He ran the Manchester Marathon, I think, once. Or the half marathon or something. And therefore Rob Walker called him Marathon Man. And actually he doesn't run at all. So yeah, there you go. But as you know, Tom, I'm going to Middle Saturday at the Crucible and 10 o'clock. And there is a possibility that Ricky Walden could be playing Judd Trump in the second round there in the final session. So that could be a very close one. But we'll talk about that possibility a little bit later on. On to the next one, and this will have delighted all of our fans out there, that the Space Sausage, and I will say that since we christened him the Space Sausage, he has turned his career around. He was going on about that it's his new woman and her father-in-law, all of that has changed his snooker career. I think it's the fact that we've given him a bit of Space Sausage, and I think he's absolutely loving it. But yeah, Dominic Dale, if you're not sure, he went through against He Gudang, and we both said that Dominic Dale would win, so he gets 4 points for each of us there. And you've got an early lead in this one, Tom.
Oh, shall we end it now?
10-7 at the moment.
Should we end it there? Let's end it there, Joe. Come on, it's all done. Yeah, it's all done.
Yeah. But yeah, Dominic Dale, obviously first time in 10 years. Looking forward to seeing him there. Obviously, we'll preview him when we get to the matches. Next up, and I said this, I called this in the podcast. I said, don't be surprised if Jamie Jones beats Neil Robertson. Don't be surprised about that. And what did he do? Yeah. He went and beat Neil Robertson 10-9. Wow. Neil Robertson not at the World Championship for the first time since 2005, I believe.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy, really, that Neil was not going to be there. But I think Jamie Jones is... he's underrated, but also inconsistent, which is probably why he's underrated. But he's a player, on his day, I think should be, top 25 in the world at least. He's a very decent player when he plays well. And I almost think Neil maybe underestimated how hard it would be, because Neil was literally saying since December he was going, oh, it's fine. If I drop out the top 16, I'll just qualify. And in my head, I was thinking, it's not going to be that easy, because you've got other former world champions in qualifying. So
I do worry about Neil Robertson. Actually, I think over the last year or so, he's been a lot of talk and not a lot of action on the table. You know, I think he has said, "Oh, I'll be better for it. You know, I'll come back stronger. I'm taking this time off, and I'm going to be stronger." And it just doesn't seem to be happening for him at the moment. And actually, he's found himself sat alongside Sean Murphy in the BBC punditry team this week. He's going to be there Monday to Friday, so that's an interesting shift for Neil Robertson, and it'll be interesting to hear him in the commentary box. Not who I thought would be commentating this week, I have to be honest, but there you go.
When Dominic Dale qualified, he was saying to Dave Hendon, like, oh, we're going to have to update the rota for Eurosport, because he was down to qualify, and now he's qualified, so he won't be able to commentate.
We'll have to bring Fergal in.
There we go. That was Dominic Dale just popping in for 2 seconds to just say that to us. Thank you, Dom. Nice to hear from you. But they could have just got Neil in.
Pleasure, Hazel.
Swapped them out.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, we both got that wrong with Neil Robertson.
Speaking of Rob Walker and his shoes, apparently when Dominic Dale was last at the Crucible, Rob Walker said that Rob was about to sort of introduce him. They were just backstage, and just before Dominic came out for a World Championship quarter-final, he said to Rob, "Oh, what do you think of my shoes? I've got new shoes." And Rob went, "Dom, you're about to come out in a World Championship quarter-final and you're talking about your shoes."
But that's a cracking stat, isn't it? That the last time Dominic Dale was at the World Championship, he was at the quarter-final. That's bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we both got Neil Robertson wrong. 3 points for us there, because he did actually win a match. On to the next one. I went for Zhou Yulong. He went out 10-4 to Jack Jones, and you were deliberating between Jamie Clark and Jack Jones, and in the end, you went for Jamie Clark, unfortunately. Yeah. So you get 2 points, because he won the second round and got to the third round, but we lost to Jack Jones, unfortunately. But a good victory for Jack Jones, I think. Zhou Yulong is a solid player, so who beat James Cahill 10-0 in the previous round. Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But moving on. Yeah, go on.
It's very rare there's a whitewash in the qualifiers, or at the World Championship at all. Like, I think maybe it's only the fourth or fifth ever, maybe, or something. So, yeah, very impressive by Yulong.
Yeah, I mean, there was one earlier in the qualifiers. There was one earlier in the qualifiers with Jimmy White and Martin Gould, wasn't there? You know.
Well, that doesn't. Martin Gould was poorly. That doesn't count. Poor Golden Bulls.
Jasper Carrot there, yeah. Anyway, on to the next one. We have got Stephen Maguire, who was our qualifier, and this was a battle of our two predictions here, Stephen Maguire and Yuan Si Jun, and unfortunately for you, Tom, Stephen Maguire won out, so that is a 4-3 victory to me there. Stephen Maguire back at the Crucible. I think he could cause some damage. We're saying this about all of the players that have qualified so far. They could go and do something. It really is quite amazing. But after Stephen Maguire, we're going to possibly my biggest mistake of the whole of the predictions here, and that was not backing Stuart Bingham, who is looking over my shoulder over there.
He's not.
If you manage to get the video on this looks awful right now. He's not happy, is he? Yeah, he's giving me a bit of a glare. Actually, it's quite terrifying. But anyway, I went for Liam Highfield, and Liam Highfield didn't win any of his matches. He lost in a decider to Stuart Carrington, who very nearly beat Stuart Bingham, by the way. It was 10-9 in that match.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Stuart Bingham did get through, but he squeaked through, really. 10-9 against Carrington, 10-8 against Heathcote. I think at one point Heathcote could have made it 9-7 and sort of missed the pot to make it 9-7, so it could have been very different. But lovely to see Bingham make it back. I don't know if he'll have a good run at the Crucible this year, because he's had probably the worst season of his past 10 years or so. But hey, he's back, and I saw a lovely video of him on Instagram earlier, and he was dancing with the Crucible backdrop near him. So already, it's good to see him back.
Yes, obviously, Stuart Bingham will be delighted to be there. And again, he could be somebody that causes issues. I don't think anybody's expecting him to do that, but I suppose that takes a lot of the pressure off him. So good luck to him. We obviously will cheer on Bingham from this podcast. We're a huge fan of Bingo, so hopefully he will go and do the business at the Crucible. Next one, another embarrassing one for me, I'm afraid. I went for Lucas Kleckers in the next round here, which he did win. He got to the third round of qualifying, and you went for strictly Chris Wakelin, but he went out in a decider as well to Robbie Williams.
One of the big... I mean, for me, I think that was the big surprise on Judgment Day was Wakelin not making it through. He's ranked 20 in the world. He's had a fantastic season, and 10-9, so he was close. But I really, I was surprised, and I think he'll be gutted not to make it. But hopefully, his form is he should be aiming for top 16 next season if he keeps it up. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for him. Fingers crossed. He's, he is a good player. I think he's improved a lot since he won the shootout. So. Yeah, fingers crossed for him that he'll be back stronger next season. Into the next one, I went for Marco Fu, and it was looking good for a while, actually. Marco Fu was playing really, really well in his first and second round match. Obviously played Ken, knocked out Crafty Ken, and then early on in the match against Hossein Vafai, it was going tit for tat, but unfortunately didn't happen. So it's only 2 points for me. But you correctly predicted another qualifier, Tom, with Hossein Vafai. You're on fire, Stephen Maguire here.
Oh, it's all going to come crashing down eventually, but it seems to be going all right at the moment.
Well, on to the next one. Matt Selt is who I went for. And you went for Joe O'Connor. So you got through that one again. 10-8. Yes. Joe O'Connor won that in a 115-minute frame to finish it off, Tom, that they cut the coverage from.
I can't believe, we should quickly say, I thought it was a disgrace they cut the coverage because the cameras were still rolling. Like, people were sharing VPN links to still watch the match in a Chinese broadcast. The cameras were still rolling. So I think they cut it because their Eurosport slot timed out, which... Everyone always goes, Eurosport's the best, but I'm like, well, the BBC didn't cut the final in 1985, so I just thought it was a bit of a stupid move by WST.
I thought it was maybe down to them paying the commentators. I wondered if it was that. But
well, I thought, but even if it was that, leave it rolling with no commentators. Like, people would happily.
David Hendon commentated on the virtual snooker final and presumably didn't get paid for that. So he
probably got paid more than we did, Joe. Probably got paid more than we did. We got paid nothing. That's why.
Did. We did.
I think they should.
Anyway, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Go on, Tom.
Well, no, I just think they should have just left it on with no commentators and let people watch it because, I like David Hendon. I like the fact he's clearly a snooker nerd and he loves the sport. But no one was tuning on Judgment Day going, do you know what I'm watching this for? It's because I really want to listen to Dave Hendon for 6 hours. That's not what people were there for. They were there to watch snooker. And so they happily would have watched it without him.
Yeah, absolutely. Bonkers, I think, is a word for it. And it was just crackers how it was. It happened when Matt Selt went to the toilet as well. So, yeah, it was just really, really weird. Like, had he not gone to the toilet, what would have happened?
Well, at one point, there was a guy who was sat in the audience watching it live, and he was sharing photos on Twitter going, "Oh, look, Matt Selt's got Joe in a bit of trouble." And people were following the match by looking at this guy sending pictures on Twitter.
Oh,
it's hilarious.
Back to the Stone Age.
It really
But
did
what's
feel
weird
like
is that they had
funny.
full coverage of every match in the qualifiers, except the last one on Judgment Day. It makes no sense. But anyway, we will move on. I went for Chow Yu Peng in the next one, so again, not getting max points, but I did a little bit better than you because you went for Ma Ha Long, who got beat by Chow Yu Peng. I mean, he did pretty well to get to round 3, but couldn't get past
He beat Martin
Chow Yu
O'Donnell.
Peng.
He beat Martin O'Donnell, who's had a fantastic season. So he's clearly a decent player. The mistake I made is I said in the last episode, there's always someone who's lower ranked who gets through. And this was the first season, probably ever, where every player is... But the lowest ranked player is 45. So there's no low ranked player who's got through this year. So, you did well with Chow. And he almost beat Pang. It was a very well fought match. They were kind of going back and forth throughout. So...
I've heard Chow Yu Peng's apparently retiring to go and play Chinese 8-ball, but...
I've heard that. They were saying it on commentary that he's going to go back to China because he's got a young family and he wants to play Chinese 8-ball, but I'm not sure. I mean, they've said that, but he's not said it. It's not official, so I don't really know. It'd be a bit of a loss to the tour, really, because he's a very good player. He's very decent. But maybe because he's one of the very few players who was banned for match fixing and then came back. So maybe he doesn't feel as comfortable on tour now. Maybe that's part of it. I don't really know. Or maybe it is as simple as he prefers China, which is fair enough. You're Chinese, mate. Like I get it if you want to be with your family in your homeland, mate. So it'd be a shame if he left because he got to a ranking final this season, I think. So he's playing some of the best snooker of his life.
Yeah, absolutely. On to the next one. I went for Noppon Sangham, which I was very close to getting.
God.
10-9. He lost to Jackson Page. However, you
for.
went for a certain Fergal O'Brien who lost to Mustafa Dorgum in the first round. So...
Yeah, that was my big mistake. That was I went with my heart, Joe, and it sometimes works, but that time it definitely didn't. I at least expected him to
It definitely didn't that time, no.
But, hey.
Yeah. Well, anyway, on to the next one. Sijia Wee, we both went for, so no need to talk about that one. I went for Daniel Wells in the next hat. Daniel Wells... Where did he get to? He got to round 3, lost 10-8 to Liu Haishan, who, of course, ended up qualifying. You went for Michael Holt, who lost in the first round. I'm very disappointed by Michael Holt, actually.
Yeah, I don't think he played at all as well as he could have done. I think he should have. He should be winning that match. Like, I don't know much about Xing Zhao, but... he should be beating that. But also, we should say props to Jensen Kendrick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Jensen did superb, actually. Considering we joked about him when he was qualifying for Q School. I remember us specifically picking his name out and saying, "Oh, Jensen Kendrick's just some random 40-year-old guy that they've picked off the streets to take a spot," and he ended up qualifying for the tour, and he nearly got the Crucible. He was only 3 frames away.
Yeah, and when he was playing with the pressure of losing his tour card, but managed to beat Jordan Brown, which was a great performance. But also, we should say well done to Bai Lu, she won 7 frames against Jensen, which is, I think, by far the best performance of any female player. We did pick her out for having a chance of beating him, and I think she justified it. 7 frames is not bad at all against a player who almost reached a Crucible.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Rhiannon Evans was whitewashed 10-0. That was a rather bizarre match.
Well, especially, Joe, because you said last episode, if Rhiannon Evans doesn't beat Oliver Brown, people should maybe discuss whether she should have a tour card. And it's safe to say she didn't beat him. But I would argue that I think the performances of players like Bai Lu and like players who won matches like Mustafa Dorgum and Mohamed Shahab, like they're both players who are on tour because World Snooker are trying to, get players on these tour cards to broaden the sort of reach of snooker. And I think the fact they both won kind of justifies it because, everyone went on about Stan Moody, but he lost to Mohamed Shahab, and you kind of go, well, fair play, mate. It shows that Shahab deserves his tour card, and I'm sure it won't be too many years before Bai Lu is also beating someone.
Yeah. I mean, do we reckon Stephen Hendry might have been whitewashed had he turned up?
Yes. Yeah, I reckon that's probably why he didn't turn up. He probably knew it was coming, and he went, actually, I don't fancy losing 10-0 to Vladislav Gradinari.
I want a little bit of dignity left. Anyway, next,
you lost that when you dressed as a bin, Hendry. You lost all your dignity. You were dressed as a bin.
Oh, what a load of rubbish, eh? There you go. Anyway, I went for David Gilbert. I'm pretty smug about this one. I went for David Gilbert to win that one. You went for David Lilly, who went out in the 3rd round, so 2 points for you there. And then the final qualifier, we both went for Ryan Day, so that's 4 points each. So the grand totals are in, Tom.
Ooh.
How do you think it's gone?
I was confident until I got to Fergal, and then I got to Michael Holt, and that worries me a bit. So I think it'll be very close. I think this could be our own version of a decider. I think very close, but I think you might have edged it.
Well, Tom, you scored 45 points overall out of a possible 64, which I'll say that's pretty decent. Pretty decent. And I got 44. So congratulations, Tom. You win. You win.
Oh, fantastic. The classic best of 89 frame match.
He's beginning to annoy me now. He's beaten me in a few events recently. But we all know that the qualifiers isn't where the tournament is won. So, yes, we'll move swiftly on from that, I think.
Well, we should say I think that's probably the best we've ever done at these predictions. So that either means we're going to nail the World Championship or we're going to come crashing down to earth.
Well, it's the kind of expert analysis that you come to expect from us. I mean, I think you said at one point, you said, for all the snooker podcasts and all the predictions that were out there, nobody was talking about Mohamed Shahab except us. So
yeah,
there
we're
you
the
go.
only one. We're the only one. Only one who mentioned him, and he got a win. So it shows that. And we'd be the only people who mentioned Jensen Kendrick before he qualified. So I'm not saying that we're like the Nostradamus of snooker, but
yes, absolutely. But we do like to talk about a lot of the lower ranked players. That's why we probably spend a bit longer talking about qualifiers and stuff than anything else, anybody else out there, because we know all of these players pretty much, and they all have their little personalities that we've created for them, and
Well, if we don't know them when we first read the name, if we don't know them, we do look them up, and then one of us will come to a future episode and gone, "Oh, have you heard this about Andy Neck?" And the other one will go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Or Jason Tart.
Oh, I hope he makes it this year, Jason Tart.
Yeah, it's a cracker. Anyway, let's get on to the World Championship proper, Tom. So, 16 qualifiers. And we said before this, everybody at home, we said, right, we're going to cap the qualifiers at 10 minutes. I'm now looking at the clock at 30 minutes. So unless Tom has done some incredible editing with all of this, then I don't think we've hit our target. But anyway, honest, we'll move on.
I don't think there's anything I'll be able to edit out because it was all pretty much us talking about each round. So, I mean, this episode might be like a Joe O'Connor Matt Selp frame. That's all I'm saying. So, strap in.
115 minutes. Yeah. Go and grab yourself a drink, but yes, we will get into it, and we'll be making our little predictions along the way. We'll give a little bit of score prediction as well, a little bit of context about each match. But yeah, we'll start as we mean to go on with the defending world champion, who will, of course, probably by the time you're listening to this, have his match underway at the Crucible. Mm-hmm. He's the only player that will know if he's through to round 2 or not by the end of day 1. And that's Luca Bracel, and he's taken on David Gilbert. What are your thoughts about that match?
Very, very, very hard to call, because obviously Bracel, defending champion, he's got the Crucible curse hanging over him. Not only that, but I was looking at his season performance this year, and I think he was ranked in the 40s for the season. I can't remember a champion having a worse follow-up season than Bracell's had in terms of ranking events.
I think Bingham had a similar sort of season, but
I think, Bingham didn't have a great follow-up season. And maybe Mark Williams didn't either when he won and he was eating kebabs or whatever all the time. But I think, I don't know, it's because Bracel, I think, was really out of the blue as a winner, whereas at least when Bingham and Mark Williams won, they were off the back of a strong couple of seasons, like winning ranking titles, so it made more sense, whereas Bracel properly was like a Joe Johnson surprise. And also, Bracel, where is your version of Everlasting Love? Come on, mate, get in the studio. Bang it out. I want to hear it. But
yeah, Everlasting Love.
But I can't, I'm really struggling to call this, because David Gilbert's a fantastic player. He's going to have already done more practice in the qualifiers than Bracel's probably done all season. But I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a 10-9 kind of situation. I think Bracel will edge it 10-9.
I think this could be the most important match in the whole tournament, just as a bit of a bold claim. I think if Luca Bracel beats David Gilbert, it massively opens up the draw for him, and he won't really be playing anybody that can challenge him in good form until the quarterfinals, which, by then people are going to be talking about, well, is he going to go back to back? Is he going to break the Crucible curse? I think he could go and do it if he beats David Gilbert. I think he'll fancy his chances. But there's a big but in there of will he come out on top? But you've gone 10-9 Luca Bracel. I'm going to go 10-6 David Gilbert.
Ooh. I mean, I do agree.
Just to be out there,
Well, I think if he gets past Gilbert, it would have shades of Joe Johnson, who had never won the Crucible ever, and then suddenly he won it. The next year he got to the final. So Bracel he'd have the confidence to do it. He's got crazy confidence. The players we're going to talk about in the next match, I think Bracel and Gilbert could both beat both of them, especially at the Crucible. So as you say, it would really open up, because the next draw, Rob Milkins as the seed against Pang. Pang played very well against Ronnie last year. Milkins, over the past 2 years has played some fantastic snooker, but most of that was 2 years ago and not this year. And Rob Milkins has got a particularly poor record at the Crucible. So, as much as I'd love to see Milkins finally have a run, like he's never got past round 2, I'd love to see him properly get into the later stages. I can't see it. I think Pang will beat him. I think Pang's the kind of player who, a bit like C, I think both Pang, they're at the Crucible for the second year in a row. I think they'll both be top 16 at some point, and I fancy Pang to get through to round 2. What about you?
Yeah, I know a lot of people were backing Pang last year to beat Ronnie, and he did play very, very well. And as you say, he's going to be more comfortable, more confident coming into this season. And Rob Milkins, he's a very streaky player, and I think that's his problem at the Crucible, is that in long matches you can't really afford to just be able to rattle off 3, 4, 5 frames in a row and then just go cold. And that's maybe the issue of why he's maybe not been as successful throughout his career. Like you, I'd love to see him go far in this tournament, but I can't see it either. I think that's got qualifier win written all over it. I think actually, out of everybody, Rob Milkins will probably be quite happy with his draw. He's avoided the big names like Jack Lazowski and Neil Robertson, for instance, or Stu Bingham, Ryan Day, Ricky Walden, Hossein Vafai. He's avoided all of those. So he's at least got a chance. But I think it'll be an entertaining match, don't get me wrong. But I've gone Pang. 10-7 I'm going to go for.
Ooh. Oh, I didn't say my score, but if I was going for a score, I'd probably go, I think it maybe be a 10-8 to Pang. And at the very least, it should be a nice attacking game. There's not going to be much safety going on.
No, definitely not. Speaking of a cracking match, Ali Carter versus Stephen Maguire could easily have been, well, I think it was the semi-final back in 2008, was it? Was it then? I don't know. I know he played, Stephen Maguire definitely got the semi-finals around about that time, and Ali Carter obviously got the final in 2012 and 2008, so it could quite easily have been a very good quarterfinal nearly 20 years ago, and it's the first round in 2024. And I don't know how this is going to go. Ali Carter has been pretty good for a couple of seasons, but he's also played some really awful snooker recently. And Stephen Maguire has won 2 matches in the last week. He said he was going to go back up to Scotland, practice hard with John Higgins, and I think that's going to do him the world of good. I've gone for 2 qualifiers so far, but what can I do here? I think I'm going to back Ali Carter. I think Ali Carter is going to be up for the World Championship, and I'm not sure Stephen Maguire is quite as good as he used to be. But I'm going to go 10-8 for Ali Carter.
You did say in our last episode that you thought this could be the first year where there's more qualifiers winning in the first round than seeds. So I think it makes sense you've done 2 qualifiers so far, because it's a very strong bunch. I'm going to agree, though. I think Ali Carter will, over 19 frames, have just a bit too much for Maguire. I think it might be like a 10-6 to Ali. I think it could be close during one of the sessions, but I think Ali will pull away, and he's just one of those players who you have to drag him off the table at the Crucible, so I think he'll grind it out a bit and get past.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will back Ali Carter to at least an each way bet. I think in general the top half of the draw is very open, actually. Obviously you've got the big name of Mark Allen down there. Lots of people tipping him for the Worlds this year, but other than that, you've got a lot of players that are just not quite in form, or haven't really got the experience at the Crucible. So I do really think that top half is open. So for somebody like an Ali Carter to go and go all the way, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah, because the other part of that section, and this is one of these 8 will get in the semi-final, and it's Sean Murphy and Luau Haoshan. So you've basically got Brissell, who's a champion, Gilbert, Maguire, who've both got to semi-finals. You've got Murphy, who's next champion. You've got Milkins, who's never done much, Pang, who's never won a match at the Crucible, and you just go, one of these is going to get to the semi-final, which is incredible, really.
Yeah.
I think it's open. It's very open, as you say.
Yeah. But, it should be 3 very decent matches to get us going in this preview. But yeah, looking forward to all of them. Carter is another one that I could be seeing at the Crucible as well, along with the next match, which is Sean Murphy versus Liu Haishan. And usually Sean Murphy blitzes through the first round. I remember I said this last year against Seizure. I said it could well be a 10-0. And how wrong was I?
That's aged well.
I tell you what, Sean Murphy has played really, really well when I've seen him recently. He played well in China, he played well at Saudi Arabia. But the problem is he didn't qualify for the Players' Championship and he didn't qualify for the Tour Championship. So he's not played a lot of matches recently, which could be a benefit to him. Obviously, he went into last year's World Championship having won 2 tournaments in quick succession. So we will see what happens. I think Sean Murphy's going to come roaring back to form this World Championship. So I'm going to go Sean Murphy, and I'm going to go 10-4. 10-4 for Sean Murphy.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm surprised by that. I mean, I am going to also go for Sean, but I think Lou will put up a bit more of a fight. I think it might be I'm going to say 10-8, I think. I think it'll be a bit closer than we think. But, I mean, we should also say, so you might see, is it Ali, Maguire, Murphy, or Haoshan? Now, who would you want to see out of those? Not who you predict. Who would be your dream choice?
Well, Murphy and Maguire would be my dream pick out of those 2. Later on, probably Walden and Vafai, just because the other player in that definitely don't want to see, but we'll see.
Poor Tom Ford. Poor Tom Ford.
I know. Poor Tom Ford. Yeah. Anyway, on to the next one. We have got a Leicester derby, Tom, with Mark Selby versus Joe O'Connor. And Mark Selby hinted at retirement a few weeks ago at the Tour Championship. So, I mean, I don't know how much we believe about that. But Joe O'Connor, I can't say he was playing particularly well to get through against Matt Self. It was a bit more of a grind. The only Crucible debutant as well this year.
Yeah, the first time. Well, I mean, not the first time, but it would have been the first time there was no debutantes. But now he's the only one. I think the last time there was only one debutant was possibly Mitchell Mann in about 2016, I think.
Okay.
And I mean, my main worry with this match is it could be the longest match in Crucible history, because if these 2 players get bogged down, they're not going to care about playing tippy-tappy snooker, which could be an issue. I do think with it being O'Connor's debut and as the only debutant, he might have a few nerves, especially playing presumably his Leicester snooker idol, Mark Selby. So I think Selby will get the win. I think it might be a bit more comfortable than I've said so far. I think it might be a 10-5.
Interesting. I've gone for a Selby 10-3 here. So
Ooh, okay.
there always tends to be one quite one-sided match at the Crucible, and I think somebody like Selby can rattle off a few frames with centuries, and I think if it goes slow, I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
But we'll see anyway. But moving on to one of the absolute highlights of the draw for me, Kyron Wilson against Dominic Dale. Now, Wilson has had a horrible season. You know, it's very unlike him. He's usually very consistent. Obviously has a great Crucible record. But he's going into this without any form at all. And playing a Dominic Dale who's probably had his best season for 10 years. So
Well,
I think this is going to be a lot closer than what people might think.
I looked up Dale on Q Tracker, and purely in terms of prize money, this is, at the age of 52, the second best season of his career.
Wow. That's
so
crazy.
I think he won't be, I think a lot of people were expecting Dale to get walked over, but really his form, I think he'll put up a good fight here. I think he will, at the very least, be able to sort of go blow for blow for a bit of the match. Whether he can do it for the whole match, I'm not too sure. But, I mean, as you said, Kyron's this season, he's been similar to Brissell, really, in that he's just not really done much most ranking tournaments. He's not really turned up. So, on paper, there is an argument to say Dale should be the favourite on form, which is mad. That's absolutely mad.
Yeah. I think if he gets a good start, he's going to be dangerous. But I don't know. The thing about Kyron, right? I think it's an important match, this one, because I think if Kyron can beat Dominic Dale, he could go quite far in the tournament again. Especially with some of the players around him in his draw. So I'm actually going to go for a decider in this one, 10-9. And I think I'm going to go Kyron Wilson.
Wow, okay. I'm going to go for a decider as well, just because I've not gone for one, and there has to be some. And this is one of those matches where it is literally like, one player who's in form, one player who's not, and that should balance them out a bit based on their rankings. And I think Dale will win it somehow. I think he'll do some Dale magic. He'll have that glint in his eye. He'll start singing My Way and it'll put Kyron off or something. He'll find a way to win an decider, I think, Dominic Dale.
Well, he'll give us a few cue the musics for the rest of the championship. But interesting that you've gone Dale there. Anyway, on to the next one. John Higgins versus... Go on, sorry.
I'm just doing my predictions. I'm writing them on my phone at the moment, and I've just put Dale in, and in my head I've just... when you write something down, and immediately you look at it and go, what have I done? But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. If this comes off and Dale does win, I'll look like a genius.
You will. I honestly, I was very close to putting Dale, but I think most other players he came up against, I would have probably backed him, but I think Kyron has just got something about him at the Crucible, so I'm going to back him. But anyway, we've got John Higgins versus Neil Robertson's Conqueror, Jamie Jones. I tell you what, that's a tough opening round for John Higgins, who has had a very consistent season. I think he's reached 5 semi-finals, but hasn't won a trophy since the Players' Championship 2021, I think. So, long time ago.
What I was surprised to see is that John's reached 5 semi-finals, but if he doesn't win this, he'll be out of the top 16 for the first time in 30 years. And I found that quite surprising considering the semi-finals, but I guess he's probably not got to the semi-finals or the finals of the bigger events, and that's harmed him. And it is, the Crucible is a lot of prize money at stake, and he needs to win here to stay in the top 16, and it would be pretty huge, I think, if he drops out, because no one's been in the top 16 consistently.
Well, it must be the longest unbroken streak in the top 16 ever. It must be.
Yeah. I think it's, unless Davis was in the top 16 for ages, but I don't think... Was he still in the top 16?
But he dropped out around about 2000, I think.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it must be then. I reckon it is. Do you know what I mean? I think I've probably read that somewhere that it's the longest streak, because obviously Ronnie dropped out when he took a year off. Mark's been in and out. Players like Robertson have just dropped out finally, and so I think it would be the end of the longest streak. So he's got a lot to play for, Higgins, and Jamie Jones has already beat one strong favourite. So I think this is the hardest one for me to call so far. I'm going to let you go first, Joe, because I can't decide.
Well, yeah, I'm still thinking about Davis. I think he did get back into the top 16, but he definitely dropped out of it, because I remember he didn't qualify for the 2001 World Championship or something. That was the first time he hadn't been there so he must have been out of the top 16 at that point. But Robertson as well, he did drop out a few years ago because he missed the Masters. So it's not the first time for him. Somebody like Ding, he's dropped out a lot. Selby's probably got a fairly long streak going, but it's nowhere near 30 years. So that's a big thing. I'm going to back Higgins in this one. I think he's got a lot on the line here. I do think if Higgins loses, it might be his last ever match. But if he wins,
do you think?
I think he'll keep going 10-6. I'm going 10-6, but yeah, I think it could be his swan song if he loses.
I'm going to back Higgins again. I think 10-8, just because it's the Crucible, it's longer formats. Higgins hasn't played his best snooker this season, but he's got time to sort of warm up into the match, and at the Crucible it's really, really hard to go against any of the class of 92 just because their experience and what they've done before. And I just think Higgins will it'll be one of those things where everyone's going to go, he might drop out the 16, and then he could get to the semi-finals and we'd all go, oh no, he's fine for another 2 years. So I fancy Higgins to beat Jamie Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Higgins is who we've gone for there. Ended off the top half of the draw, we have Mark Allen versus Robbie Williams. And I know Mark Allen is a huge tip for lots of people this year to go and win the World Championship. What do you think about that, Tom?
I think he's got a shot. I think he's definitely got a shot. As we said earlier, he's the provisional number one in the world rankings, which shows how well he's done over the past 2 years. I think he's currently ranked number 3. He's definitely the best form of his life. Do you know what I mean? Like, definitely, I think he has to be in the top 3 or 4 for most people in terms of the favourites. And I certainly can't see him having any problem with Robbie Williams. I think this could be a thrashing, to be honest. No disrespect to Robbie, but just in the fact that Robbie's never won a match at the Crucible, you're against one of the big top 16, the top 4 or top 3 at the very least are, in incredible form. And I think Robbie's been a bit unlucky with the draw. If Robbie was against a Milkins or something, he could have a shot. But I think Allen will win this 10-3.
Wow. I've gone 10-4. So there you go. But yeah, I agree with you. Can't see Robbie Williams provided much threat, if I'm honest. Okay, on to the second half of the draw, starting with perhaps the favourite for the tournament. Obviously won 5 events this season already, none of which are huge events, I will add as the caveat to that. Judd Trump, who has very much come back to form this season. He's played very well in spells, but he's also, a bit like Ali Carter, he's also played absolutely awful in certain events and certain matches, big matches, particularly against Ronnie, weirdly. But he's taken on Hossein Vafai, who, of course, probably made the biggest headlines of anybody last year, other than Brissell himself. So, how do you see that one going? I think Judd Trump will be not necessarily terrified, but I think he would. There's probably not another player in the draw that he would have, not rather played against. Hossein Vafai is a top 16 player, really. So it could be an upset.
Yeah. No, I think Judd will be. I think the two people Judd would want to avoid would be Hossein and his good mate Jack. And I think drawing Hossein is a really tough draw for Judd. Tough draw for Hossein as well. Of course, Judd's had a great season, but as you said, they've not been in the top tier events. There's a lot of him winning best of sevens. It's not the same as the Crucible. Also, Judd did win, I think he won 3 titles in a row, but that was back in something like September to October. So that was very early in the season to have that form. And whether he timed it badly to have the form that early in the season, possibly. I'm going to say I actually think...
Well, he's come out again and said he's not bothered by that. He's not bothered about... I think Stephen Hendry had him on his channel recently and said, would you trade the 5 tournaments you've won to win the World Championship? And he said, no, I'd rather win the 5 events. So...
No, he's lying.
The World Championship does not mean... Well, I don't know. I just don't know if the World Championship means as much to him as it does to other players.
I'm quite sure the World Championship would be more prize money than his 5 tournaments for a start. And I think...
Yeah, very true.
I think those are the words of a man who's only won World Championship and 27 or other ranking titles, whatever it is. I think that's why he's saying it. But, the reality is, I think his career will be judged on majors, on Triple Crown events, and people probably think he should have won more by now. And I think he will once again not win this year. I think everyone's building it up to be, or it could be Trump against Ronnie in the semis, but I really think Hossein is a classy act, and it'll be close. You'd be stupid to say it's not going to be close. But I think Hossein 10-9. That's what I'm going for.
10-9. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Yeah. 10-9 on the black. You know me. I mean, I'm going to back Hossein all the way in this match. I've gone 10-8 because I just think Judd is a bit of a slow start at the tournament, and I think if again it's an important match. If he gets through it, it really opens up for him. Until perhaps a quarterfinal against Mark Williams. I don't see him being particularly challenged, and that's only if Mark Williams makes it through. So, it's a big match for the tournament. But yeah, I think Hossein will have a bit of extra fire in his belly this time round because of what happened last year, and he'd made a bit of a fool of himself, and he'll want to prove that he's not that person, that he's somebody that should, get the adoration of the crowd, because he was getting it last year. He was playing incredible snooker in round 1, and then he let his mouth run in the interviews and lost a hell of a lot of respect, which I think it'll take time to win back. But what better way to do it than beat Judd Trump in the first round?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has a shot, and I'd love, we'd both love to see it. And it might be, there's probably been so many times on this podcast where we've gone against Trump because we're not fans, and it's come back to bite us. So this could come back to bite us.
Well,
once
we
again,
backed McGill last year. I think, was it McGill last year? I think McGill beat him, didn't he? Or was it? Well, no, I don't think it. Yeah, no, it was. I swear it was.
Okay, yeah, maybe he did. So
I'm sure McGill beat him last year.
I think, Hossein. I hope he does as well. It'd be lovely to see. Because I do like Hossein. I really liked him before he'd even qualified for the championships. Because in interviews, he always seemed very warm, very friendly. He'd always go they'd go, "Oh, Hossein, how do you think that match has gone?" And he'd always say, "Oh, I just want to say hello to the snooker fans. Thank you for supporting me." And I was like, "Oh, he's a nice lad." And he did kind of just get carried away last year. I think he tried to play mind games and it backfired. So, as you say, he needs to sort of rebuild his reputation a bit, and I hope he can do that with a good run this year.
Yeah, I think he'll be well up for it. Just to confirm, Anthony McGill did beat Judd Trump in the first round last year, 10-6. So, there you go.
Wow.
But anyway, on to the next one, and this is, a match that's probably going to be forgotten about in the draw, but I think could go very, very close. Tom Ford, who's had the best season of his life, somehow in the top 16. He's not won a ranking tournament, but that shows the consistency that he's had. And he's taken on, as we've said, my second favourite player on the tour, Ricky Walden, who I'm still got big memories of that Crucible semi-final run many, many years ago when he was well ahead against Barry Hawkins, but lost in the end. And again, this could be a qualifier win. It's got it written all over it, I think. But do you think Tom Ford can get through?
Well, Tom Ford's one of a few of the seeds, like Milkins and then like Zhang Anda, who's coming up, who have never been a seed before. And I always feel like when it's your first time as a seed, that's a unique kind of pressure because you're not used to it. You've never been the favourite in a Crucible match before, probably. So I think that actually puts a bit more pressure on the first-time seeds, especially because Walden's had 2 or 3 matches to warm up. He's used to best of 19s. On paper, Tom Ford is the favourite, and he's had a fantastic season. In the top 16 for the first time at the age of 40. He almost got into the Masters. But it is tricky. I don't think it'll be as simple as people think. And I'm going to go for Tom Ford. I think in most tournaments I would probably have gone for Ricky Walden, but I just think the fact he's had such a good season and also the fact he's a seed might hopefully give Tom Ford a bit of confidence. And he's the kind of player, I think, if he's confident, he can play brilliant snooker. So I fancy Tom Ford to win. Maybe 10-7 I'm going to go.
Okay. Just to remind people at home, in case they weren't aware, Ricky Walden lost to 10-9 in the first round last year to
Tom Ford?
No, Luca Bracel. Oh. Who, of course, went on to win the World Championship. So, Well,
it's like, I think the year that Judd won the World Championship, he beat Chris Wakelin 10-9 in the first round or something like that. It was very close. And people always forget this. It shows, I think, how competitive the World Championships is, that literally, that we can make all these predictions, but that's not to say Like the final couldn't be, a Robbie Williams or a Rob Milkins. They've got a shot. The fact they're in the last 32, if they turn up and have the form of their life, any of these players could do something incredible. So
yeah,
it's crazy, really, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, moving on. We have Zhang Anda versus Jack Jones. And again, another sort of seeded debut, if you like, for Zhang Anda. He's had a very good season. Got the semi-final. Was it the Players' Championship he got the semi-final of? He's obviously won the International Championship. Playing Jack Jones, who got the quarter-final last year. So again, could be a mouth-watering clash, this one.
The mad thing about Zhang Anda is, I believe I'm right in saying this was his first ever season that he started it in the top 64. And he's been on tour for like over 10 years. He's never been a top 64 player. And just this season, he's found something. He's exploded. He's turned into this fantastic player. Like, number 3 on the season rankings, Zhang Anda, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think he was ranked 63 at the start of the season. So he's had this incredible run this year. But Jack Jones, last year, I think him and C were the best 2 Crucible debuts that I've probably seen since, at least the last 10 years. Do you know what I mean? It was a real, debutants are very rarely this good. But they both were fantastic. So, both unlucky, really, to be in this same group, really, because they might draw each other in the second round. You kind of feel a bit bad for them. I think Jack got to the quarterfinals, Anda got to C got to the semis, and now they're going to meet possibly in the second round. But that's the World Championships. I do think, because of his form, I think I'm going to have to go for Zhang Anda. Again, he might have some nerves of being a seed, but I think he did do all right at the Masters. I think it was his first time in the Masters, and he played all right. So I'm going to go for Zhang Anda.
I'll tell you what might help. Go on. You give me a score prediction, then I'll tell you what might help.
I was worried you were going to go, I tell you what might help, but I've got an email from Liang Wenbo, and I've got a real feeling it could be 10-5 or something crazy like that. I'm going to go Zhang Anda. 10-7. So I'm going for, but an Anda down.
Yeah, I'm going to go 10-7 as well. I mean, what I think will help Zhang Anda is that he's out first up tomorrow on the other side of Luca Bracel, so a little bit less of the limelight, if you like. So yeah, I think that will help him. But yeah, I'm going 10-7. But it could go either way, that one. Really could. Because Jack Jones could quite easily have been in Zhang Anda's position had the stars aligned differently. So, anyway, on to the next one. Another heavily tipped name for the World Championship, Mark Williams, and he's playing C Jarwi. I feel very sorry for C, actually.
Massively.
Because I think he'd have fancied another good run in the tournament. But Mark Williams, I mean, I was there at the Tour Championship, and Ronnie didn't get a chance in that second session. Really. Mark Williams played awesome. And I think if he plays anything like that in the first round, I mean, he was almost unstoppable in the whole tournament of the Tour Championship. So I can't look ahead, other than Mark Williams for that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think C was very unlucky with the draw because, he did so well last season. He would have fancied another good run. If he was, swapping places with a Ricky Walden or something like that, he would have, probably had a much better chance of doing something. But just because how well Mark played, that's, I'd say that is up there with the 2018 World Championship with the best I've seen Willow play in a final. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
So I really do think that Mark Williams will have too much. I think it could be a bit of maybe like a 10-5. I think it's one where people will be thinking it's going to be really close, but if Willow gets on the run, he could kind of intimidate C a bit, and it could be a big win for Willow. And we'd all love to see Mark Williams go on another good run. He's always one of the best players to watch. He's always one of the proper characters that we always love seeing. So, fingers crossed he can do it.
Yeah, I've went 10-6 as well for Mark Williams, so very similar score prediction. I just think he's due a big run in the World Championship, actually. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing that. On to perhaps the tie of the round, but I think I said this in my little preview video. The next 3 matches are crackers. Looking at this, starting off with Ding Junhui against Jack Lazowski. Ding, perhaps the best player to have never won the World Championship, and he's taken on perhaps the best player to never win a ranking event so far, Jack Lazowski. So this is a very interesting encounter, and I know Jack Lazowski has taken a lot of inspiration from Luca Bracel his victory last year, and he fancies that he can do something similar. But I think he would have been gutted seeing that he was drawn against Ding in the first round. I think that's a very, very tough match for him. But what are your thoughts on this?
I think it could be a very close match. I think either of them could potentially get to at least the quarterfinals if they win here. I think Ding has had a bit of a resurgence, and it's kind of gone under the radar because we're so used to him being really high up the rankings. But he did drop out for a bit, but then he's kind of got back into it, and he's played some very, very good stuff. There was a match against Mark Williams last year. I think it was in the UK Championship semi-final, and they both were playing excellently. Like, it was a real proper tactical battle, and it was incredible. And it did feel like Ding was back to close to his best, like not in terms of winning titles, but in terms of he's playing this year. So I do think Ding will have just a bit too much. As much as I'd love to see Jack actually win something. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like he's played so well, and it feels like in a different era he'd be a multiple world champion by now. But he's just in a very competitive era. I think Ding will have too much for him. I think it'll be a 10-7, but there'll be plenty of centuries by both players probably. Yeah.
No, I think it'll be an entertaining match. I've actually gone 10-7 the other way. I think Ding's got a bit of a dodgy record at the Crucible, and I think Jack played very, very well in the qualifiers, and I think he's going to be one to watch. Again, he's on the wrong half of the draw really to do much damage. I think if he was in the top half, he could have been an each way bet to get to the final. But yeah, I'm going to back Jack Lazowski in that one, 10-7. But I think it'll be an entertaining one anyway.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Gary Wilson having his best ever season. Obviously won 2 titles, got the semi-final of the Tour Championship as well. He's flying as Gary Wilson, and he's playing somebody that in other years you would say is a tough draw in Stuart Bingham, but as we've already alluded to, he's not playing well at the moment, unfortunately, Stuart Bingham, and I think Gary will be quite content with that.
Yeah, in terms of Bingham, I'm in two minds. I think either he will somehow find something because it's the Crucible, and we'll be talking in a couple of weeks, and he would have knocked in 10 centuries, and he will be in the quarterfinal and will be playing brilliantly. Or, and sadly, I think this is more likely this season, I think he could struggle a bit, and Gary Wilson might just win relatively comfortably. I think Gary Wilson could win this 10-6. And I'd love to be wrong because I love Bingham. But if I back Wilson, that means I'll be happy either way. So...
yeah. Similar story for me, really. As you know, I'd love Bingham to win that. I'd love Bingham to have a good run in the tournament. But yeah, he's there's a lot of players he could have come up against that are struggling for form, and they could have both found form. I just don't think he'll be allowed to do that against Gary Wilson. I know Gary's very, very confident. He's gonna really think he's possibly for the first time in his career that he's got a chance of winning the World Championship. So, you know, there's got to be something in that. So I'm going to go Wilson 10-5.
You know, I was going to say we're not doing our second round predictions today, but I think when I do my full prediction, I think there's a chance I'd put Gary Wilson to beat Ding or Jack. So I think, you know, if then he gets past Ronnie, then hey, he'd fancy himself to win it. So, you know, he's got to the semi-finals before. Very unlucky not to make the final when he did. And he's had a great season.
Well,
the Tyneside Terror.
We'll see about those predictions, Tom, because I've got a surprise for you in about 5 minutes once we've got to the end of the end of these matches.
Oh no! What is it? What?
So,
are we going to predict every round? Is this going to be like a 5-hour special?
No. It's going to be quick fire from round 2 onwards. It's going to be one word. One word. That's it. One word predictions. So anyway, penultimate round is Barry Hawkins versus Ryan Day. Probably the closest rankings of any of the rounds, actually, because Barry Hawkins is ranked 15, I believe, and Ryan Day is ranked 17 or 18, something like that. So they're very, very close in the world rankings. So in theory, this should be a very close match. But Hawkins has sort of come back to some good form this season. Tends to go very well at the Crucible, so I'm inclined to go for a Barry Hawkins victory here, and maybe a quite comfortable victory for me of 10-6.
Well, Ryan Day, that as you said, like on the provisional end of season rankings, if Higgins does lose and drop out the top 16, I believe Ryan Day would be 16th, so it pretty much could be like rank 15 against rank 16, so really it could go either way, but I do agree, just because the Hawk at the Crucible, he's got the experience, do you know what I mean? And I think...
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Do you know what, maybe? Do you know what, I was going to go for the Hawk, because he's got the experience, but I think Ryan Day could pull out a shock. You know, I think he wasn't the most convincing in the qualifiers, Ryan Day, but you know he's going to be pretty happy with Barry Hawkins as a draw, ranking wise. You know, he's not against Williams, he's not against Trump, so I think he might be able to find something, and possibly it could be another decider. I'm thinking another 10-9 to Ryan Day.
Oh wow, that'll be a great match. The only thing I would say about Ryan Day is he'll probably look ahead in the draw and think, well, even if I win this match, I'm probably not going to win the next match, and that's what that's how I feel about it. But it'll be good to see Ryan Day have a bit of a run, because I do like him. He's a good attacking player. So will be interesting. But anyway, we have got to the final round of final fixture of round 1. Ronnie O'Sullivan, of course, won UK Championship, won the Masters, going for the Triple Crown in a season. Also won the World Grand Prix, the Saudi Arabian Masters, and the Shanghai Masters this season. So he's won 5 tournaments, got to the final of the Tour Championship. Very well fancied for winning number 8. He's taken on Jackson Page, who he came through qualifying for the second time. Obviously, he beat... I can't remember who he beat a few years ago, but then famously played Mark Williams in the second round, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And got absolutely hammered, I seem to remember.
He got trounced, which makes me worried for him here, to be honest. Because he looked all right in the first round that time, and then Williams was like 13-3 or 13-2. It was incredibly one-sided, and it depends how quickly Ronnie starts and how much Ronnie cares about ending it quickly. I really, I think Ronnie could. What are you gonna say?
No, I wasn't. Go on.
Oh, I thought you were going to come in with one of your secret tidbits. But I'm going to go Ronnie 10-4. That's what I think. And, I know everyone makes Ronnie favourite every season, but when you look at the part of the draw he's in, I think the only player that he'd be afraid of is Gary Wilson. I think the rest of them in that part of the draw, he should be through to the semi-finals.
I think that's a very good point actually about who we might be afraid of, and I've gone Ronnie 10-4 as well. So we'll see. Obviously, there's always shocks, isn't there? And I've seen a lot of people in my preview video back in Jackson Page. I just can't see it myself. But 10-4 Ronnie. So we will see what happens. But let us know your Crucible predictions down in the comments. We do enjoy reading those every single year and seeing how many you get right. I think we're doing actually reasonably well for time considering what we thought this might be. So thank you very much for listening to us so far. We are going to have a little quick fire round here and see if we can get all the way to the final, so that at the start of this championship you're getting who we think is going to win out of it. So I'm going to go with you first, Tom. And your first last 16 would be Bracel versus Pang. So who would you be backing in that one?
Well, I think if, I agree with what you said if, Gilbert could win the first round, but I agree with when you said that if Bracel got through, he could go on a bit of a run. I think Bracel will beat Pang.
Okay. So Bracel, we've got it. Carter versus Murphy.
Carter. I'm going to go for Carter.
Okay. Selby versus Dominic Dale.
I mean, I'd feel like a lunatic if I didn't go for Selby, because Dale is a very good player, but tactically, I think Selby can tie most players who aren't in the top 16 in knots. So yeah, I'd go for Selby.
Yeah. Higgins or Mark Allen? I feel like they're playing each other a lot recently.
Oh, that's a toughie. But I mean, just based on experience and previous achievements, you'd go for Higgins. But I think based on this season, I'm going to go for Allen. I think just his form is this could finally be his time where he puts it together.
Okay. Vafai or Ford?
Vafai. Let's go for Vafai. If he beats Trump, he'd be even more confident than ever. So.
Yeah. Zhang Anda or Mark Williams?
Williams. Pretty confident that.
Yeah.
I fancy. I fancied.
Um,
I think the two players I fancied to do well, Williams and Ronnie. Sorry, it's supposed to be quick fire. I'm sorry.
Ding versus Gary Wilson.
Wilson.
Okay. And Ryan Day versus Ronnie.
Ronnie.
Very good. Right. Okay, I'm going to zip through mine. So I had Gilbert to win the first match. So Gilbert versus Pang. I'm going to go Pang to get the quarterfinals. Mm-hmm. We always have a bit of a shock that gets to the quarters, I find. So that's going to be my shock. Well, Carter versus Murphy. I'm going to go Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to go Murphy. Then Selby versus Kyron. I'm going to go Kyron Wilson. Higgins versus Allen. I agree with you, Mark Allen. I think it could be his time. It really could be. Vafai versus Walden. I've got to back Ricky Walden. Zhang Anda versus Mark Williams. Williams, definitely. Lazowski versus Gary Wilson. Oh, that's a tough one. But again, I think I'm going to go for Gary Wilson and a repeat of the Tour Championship semi-final against Ronnie O'Sullivan. Okay, into the quarterfinals then, Tom. So you've got Bracell versus Carter in your first quarterfinal.
Carter.
Okay. You've then got Selby versus Mark Allen in a repeat of last year's semi-final.
Allen. I'm backing Allen. Let's back Allen.
Okay. Then you've got Vafai against Williams.
Williams.
And Gary Wilson versus Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Ronnie.
Wow. That is quite the semi-final lineup. Carter, Allen, Williams, Ronnie. Wow. Okay, right. So I've got Pang versus Murphy. I'm going to go for Murphy. How has Murphy got to the semis in my world? Kyron Wilson versus Mark Allen. Again, I'm going to back Mark Allen. Ricky Walden versus Mark Williams. That is going to be Mark Williams. And Wilson versus Ronnie. I wouldn't be surprised if Wilson beats Ronnie. It feels like the sort of thing that would happen. You know, when he's lost against Hawkins in the past, he lost against McGill a few years ago, lost against Bracell last year. It feels very, very much like the banana skin for Ronnie is that match. I think if he beats Gary Wilson in the quarters, that's it. I don't think anybody else can beat him from there. But Gary Wilson is the one to keep an eye on, in my opinion, in this tournament. So, yeah. Anyway, into your semi-finals first, Tom. You've got the first semi-finals. So you've got Ali Carter versus Mark Allen.
Mark Allen. Oh,
Okay.
He's going to let me down.
And in your second semi-final,
before and he messes up, but there we go.
And in your second semi-final, you've got Ronnie O'Sullivan versus Mark Williams.
Just because it's the Crucible, Ronnie.
Yeah. So, okay. Interesting what your final is. I've got Murphy versus Mark Allen in the semi-final. I think that would be a cracking match, actually.
Yeah.
I worry that Mark Allen is going to bottle it once he gets towards the semi-final stage. And I think by then Murphy will be fist pumping, he'll be really pumped up, and he's due a run to the world final. He does it every few years, doesn't he, Sean Murphy? He won't win it, but he'll get to the final. Sean Murphy's in the final. Somehow, I don't know how. He could easily lose in the first round. No idea, but he's in the final, right? He doesn't know himself. He's like, I was booked in to do full commentary of the final, and now I'm playing in it. And I think Ronnie is going to beat Mark Williams 17-16 in a deciding frame. in the semi-final. So there you go. And then the final is all that's left to say, Tom. So you've got Mark Allen versus Ronnie O'Sullivan, World Championship final, best of 35. History on the line.
Before that, though, my favourite quote of this episode was you saying, "How has Sean Murphy got to the semi-final in my world? And then you put him through to the final in your world."
Just every time I see his name, I'm like, yes, he's going to win. He's going to win.
Well, anything he enters. So if he entered, like, Celebrity Big Brother, you'd be like, yeah, Sean Murphy, I've seen his name, he's going to win.
This is either going to be a genius move back in Sean Murphy, or it's going to really fall flat on my face, but, you know.
Well, I mean, just because I have backed Ronnie, I believe, in both the Masters and the UK, and he won them both this season. So I have to back him again. I have to back him to finally achieve what he deserves, and that is the season Triple Crown. I think the fact he's not done that, it would just be the thing that would really solidify him as, you know, the most exceptional player the game has seen. He's already had the best season of his career in terms of prize money. He's won 2 majors. And often with Ronnie, people say, is he going to be up for it? And I think he's going to be hella up for it this year. So I think he'll beat Mark Allen, and I think it'll be... he'll win by about 5 frames. I think it'll be fairly close, but he'll do his classic thing of it being quite close, and then he'll just reel off the last 5, and just out of nowhere, he'll go, God, he's just found it. So I think he might do that.
Yeah. Well, I've got Ronnie versus Murphy, and I mean, can you imagine that as a final? Because they don't particularly like each other, do they?
No, they don't.
So that would be an interesting one. Yeah, I think Ronnie will win that 18-9, 18-10. Murphy's got a horrible record against Ronnie, but
I don't like you saying this, Joe. I don't like you saying it, because you have not backed Ronnie this season.
Because I haven't backed him in the UK or the Masters, have I?
I'm worried that now you've backed him, that Sean Murphy's going to beat him in a decider.
Well, hey, if Sean Murphy beats Ronnie in a decider in this World Championship, I think we'll have had a flipping good World Championship, won't we? You know,
I think we'd have another naked press conference.
First decider since 2002.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh. No thanks. Yeah. But there you have it then. There is our Crucible predictions for the first round and beyond. Unsurprisingly, we've both backed Ronnie O'Sullivan. You know, we're both Ronnie O'Sullivan fans, but genuinely, you know, looking at all those matches, I can't see another result. The only, you know, spanner in the works, I suppose, is if somebody like Mark Selby gets through the final, John Higgins gets through. You know, maybe Judd Trump gets through the semi-final. You know, those are the potential banana skins for me. I think particularly Gary Wilson and Mark Williams, they are going to be big challenges for Ronnie in our universe, if you like. But yeah, it'll be good. But 17 days, it's going to be interesting, and we will find out, you know, in just over 2 weeks, Tom, whether we are correct in our predictions, and we will see who comes out on top. I have a feeling that perhaps Sean Murphy is going to let me down, but I'm really hoping that I'm proved wrong.
I mean, yeah, I you never know. That's the thing. We never know with the World Championships. You know, no one would have predicted Sean Murphy in 2005. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
There we go. I mean, have we? We've almost done the. What was it? 208 minutes? Was that the Was that the frame Joe O'Connor and
208.
How much? How many? No,
It was 115, I think.
Okay. Well, so far we're on
115, which is about what? Yeah.
So they were almost 2 hours. Well, there we go. We've managed to predict the entire World Championship and sum up the qualifiers in a shorter time than they played a frame. So I think that's quite an achievement, Joe.
I agree, especially with the depth we've talked about a lot of the players and some of the names we've pulled out of the hat. Even Jason Tart was mentioned in this episode, Tom. That's what people come for with these podcasts. But it's a pleasure as always. Looking forward to some slightly shorter videos throughout the World Championship, sort of rounding up the day's play. And I can't wait for you to laugh at me when Sean Murphy inevitably loses to Liu Haishan in the first round.
I'm looking forward to that. If that happens, Joe, literally, I don't care if my prediction's wrong. I just would love to see your face when you've backed Sean Murphy to get all the way to the final and he crashes out and he's back commentating and everyone once again is going, why are you commentating? He's going, well, I enjoy it. And you're still going, because I think a lot of the times this podcast, you've always said, I want Sean Murphy to commentate and do well to prove everyone wrong. And he's not done it. He's not done it.
Yeah. He's not done it, I'm afraid. Yeah, but what one thing to leave you with, Tom, a nugget of information on the BBC Sport website. There is an article, and the title of the article is "What is snooker?" ?
Okay.
What is snooker? Rules, points, colours, and setup explained.
Well, there we go. I mean, if you need to read that article, you're probably listening to the wrong podcast, to be honest, because I imagine this is all gone over your head.
I mean, what I love, Tom, is that actually in this article, they've got a section about what is the misrule.
It's a fair point, Joe. What is the misrule? What does it mean?
I mean, this is ridiculous. They've got the balls, right? And you know we like talking about the balls on this podcast, particularly when they come to either Stuart Bingham's balls or Chris Henry's balls as well. Which, by the way, at the merchandise shop at the Tour Championship, the balls were still there by Chris Henry. I also
was the copy of World Snooker still there?
No, it wasn't. Somebody's bought it clearly. And I do need to give a shout out to Aidan, actually, who came up to me at the Tour Championships and said he was a big fan of the podcast. We will give you a proper shout out throughout the World Championships, but I haven't forgotten. It was great to speak to you, and obviously if anybody sees me at the Crucible next Saturday, please feel free to come up and have a chat. It was great. So, thank you for that. But, the balls on the BBC website. Snooker balls are slightly smaller than balls used in pool. A set for the most popular variant of pool, often known as 8-ball, includes 16 balls. 1 white, 1 black, 7 coloured balls, 7 striped balls. Every ball has a number from 1 to 15, the black taking the 8. Why are they talking about pool?
I don't know. But did you say you picked up something from the championship? Were you going to show me something?
I have, Tom. I'm going to try and zoom out my camera a little bit. It's not quite working for some reason. But
imagine if you zoomed out and just all this time you had the real Stuart Bingham behind you.
Look up there, Tom. Can you see up there?
Hold on, I need to zoom.
It's a signed Dennis Taylor picture.
Oh, that's amazing! Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I love you've got a signed Dennis Taylor picture, a photo of James Bond, and then Stuart Bingham. What other house in the world has that?
exactly. And who else has Stuart Bingham's balls on display in front of the Premier League logo? You know.
That's
But anyway,
a cracker, mate. That's a
we're
cracker.
doing what we always do and going on tangents. And if we're not careful, we will end up surpassing Joe Connor's final frame. So I'll let you wrap it up, Tom.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much for tuning in and listening. This is, of course, our big preview one, but we will see you. I mean, pretty much every day. There's going to be something out from either one of us or both of us. There's going to be a ton of content. We're going to try and do sort of daily recaps or updates or opinion kind of things each day. As Joe said, we might not manage it every day because me and Joe are the kind of people who, to be fair, I think we're both the kind of people who, if we say like, oh, we're going to do something every day for a month, we don't manage it, but we get like 20 things done. So it might not be every day, but it'll still be far more than usual.
Yeah.
So, there will be regular stuff. We might manage every day, but, Joe's a teacher. I do stand up. So it's kind of trying to fit it all in, as well as Joe doing all his YouTube stuff and us both watching the snooker. But we'll try our best. They'll be shorter kind of bite-sized episodes, and we'll see you guys very soon. Let us know your predictions for the World Championships. Has anyone else predicted Sean Murphy to reach the final? I doubt it, but hey, that's the magic of the World Championships.
Oh.
He could do, mate. He could, there's no ruling anyone out. It could be a Sean Murphy versus Jackson Page final. There's nothing to say it couldn't be that. So please do look forward to the championships. Let us know your thoughts and say hello if you see Joe at the Crucible later this month. And we'll catch you very, very soon.
Good night, JV.
Evening, Hazel. Beautiful. There we go. Is it stopped? Or has it done that thing where it won't stop again?